Hey, welcome back to the second match of the Legacy Premier League tonight. As I look at my webcam and realize, no, we're not doing webcams today. That's just a thing that we're doing today. But I got Phil Gallagher, co-competitor and owner of Thraben University in here. Phil, how's it going?
It's going really well. Feels okay to be 2D. I'm digging my toga setup here.
It's kind of nice, right? We get to watch. We don't have to play yet. I don't. You're in the fourth group, right? You actually play 2 weeks from now.
That's correct. I have plenty of time to figure out what I'm doing with my life.
I'm already putting a lot of work into that because I know that we're gonna switch one player out group because we had a change of schedule for Javier. So very likely I'm gonna be in your group. So do you like what do you
Hmm.
put me on? I don't even know what I'm gonna put myself on.
Well, I was going to play Ant with the previous set of competitors. Now
Oh
I figure
wow.
out what I'm doing instead.
Now you're gonna play Murfolk. Anyway, in speaking of less played decks, maybe we're gonna quickly take another look at the decks that our competitors are gonna play in the upcoming match. So we know that Bryant is bringing what we are calling Thalia's Epic Storm. It has 8 Thalia cards, so it must be it, right? No, seriously, he's bringing Legacy Human, tribe that has made a name for itself over the past, I want to say, year. Like it certainly was a deck before then, but didn't really show up. And then we had people put in a lot of work, and the name is escaping me right now. I think
Eddie
Yo-Yo
Zamora.
says Eddie Zamora, exactly. I knew his nickname. And yeah, he's put in a lot of work, and I think he actually worked with Bryant. So we can definitely see how this deck is gonna work out here.
So,
So
for anyone not really super familiar with the humans archetype, one of the big advantages over other tribal decks like Death and Taxes is that it has a much better combo matchup because you get more interaction on 2 mana. You get things like Kitesail Freebooter and Meddling Mage in addition to Thalia. So it's not just like mold a Thalia or you're dead against a lot of other combo decks. You actually get a decent amount of game and wiggle room. And then as you transition to the mid game, you get Recruiter to find Sanctum Prelate, and you can actually put quite a pounding on a lot of combo decks.
yeah, you know what I like about this deck? I think this deck would rarely ever have really bad draws. I mean, there's a world, how many lands is there? 4, 8, 12, 16, 21. Yeah, and 4 otherwise. So that's like more than half the deck is fat. And I guess there's some specific 3 drops that you're playing one-offs of that you don't know too many of, but most of the time the deck gets to do what it wants to do. And then there's the draws where you get Etherwile, like 40% of the time. So I hope just because I want to see those draws, I want to see some Etherwile draws. I want to see some really sweet Etherwile draws. I want to see Bryant being put in a position of either playing Noble Hierarch or Etherwile first and seeing which one's the correct call. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this deck in action. This deck looks, the more that I look at it and people recommend it to me, the more I grow and the deck grows on me. So I want to see some sweet human action. That's something that sounds like something an alien would say. Oh, show me some human action.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at Caleb's deck now. It's a little bit spicy. This is kind of another iteration of kind of conceptually what I think of as the blue Stompy decks. They're built around various 4 mana Haymaker cards, ranging from Urza to Karns to the Antiquity Wars. This one's a little bit different in that you also have this Echo of Eons pseudo combo package that you can either just get value out of or use to enable various degenerate combos.
Yeah. So how do you see this go? We already talked about it a lot when Eric was still on. How do you see this matchup going? Which side do you want to be on?
I will be on the side of Bryant Cook. I believe that humans has enough wiggle room and enough interaction at 2 and 3 mana, especially in the post sideboard games where there's just a giant pile of Sanctum Prelates, that Bryant is going to be well positioned. That being said, anytime Caleb is on a particularly degenerate draw, he will just be faster than Bryant. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking Caleb's deck might have a decent fail rate where it just fails to do its primary game plan, and then Bryant can take over those games. But I
Not
think we're ready to
surprised
go
to
down
hear
to some
you siding
matches.
with the Thalia deck.
Oh yeah, I know. Phil likes the Thalia deck.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get right into the action. Really, like the opening hands are probably gonna be really decisive here. And we got Caleb on the draw. This is a broken one. Oh my god, it's you can't really put the Echo of Eons
Honorog, can
into
we get
his
that notepad
graveyard.
moved away from the hand? Thank you kindly. All right. So
Awesome.
looking at Caleb's hand, are those chalices? I'm
Yeah.
not used to the
No,
funny
no,
art. Or are those
one of them is
mocks?
Chalice. Yeah.
Okay, so the others are moxen. So we can go land, pedal, mox for a mana, play out the second mox, throw a sigh in there or a chalice on one. Bryant's on
It's
the
not.
play with an ether vial hand.
Yeah. You're getting some inside information, even though it looks like Caleb might be on the play. I think making his mulligan decision, and Bryant already kept. That's what I assume is happening. So we're getting
No,
information that.
Bryant is on the play.
Yeah, yeah. So we are probably gonna see some Otherwire in the first turn. It's interesting. What are you gonna name with Meddling Mage? I guess you can get some information with the freebooter first, and then name something accordingly.
Well, you should actually take a look at his lands, though. He has Horizon
Oh,
Canopy Wasteland, so he can't actually cast Meddling Mage or Freebooter on two. Those are things
yeah.
that are going to have to be Ether Vialed in as of right now.
Oh, Andrea, can we get the thing switched because the battlefield is on the wrong side? Oh, you're fixing it right now. Great. So it's gonna be fixed in a minute. For like a short moment, you have to imagine that just the battlefield is switched. So you got the turn one Otherwhile, which will act like usually Otherwhile really starts to shine once it gets to two counters, right? That's at least when I become scared of Otherwhile. And I
Correct.
think Caleb would have loved to be on the play here just to turn off that option. Uh, Even though, unless Bryant actually finds a Cavern of Souls, even an challenge on 2 once you can get it down, which this deck can reasonably fast, is gonna be pretty good.
Yes. There are going to be a good number of Cavern of Souls, presumably 4. Let me confirm. Yes,
Yeah, it should
4
be
Cavern
4.
of Souls. So it's not like that's going to be a hard out here. Bryant's draw this turn is going to be relatively important. It's going to be the difference between him casting a Hate Bear this turn and him just going for an automatic Wasteland on this tomb.
So, I think the life totals are still switched, but I think we have that fixed in a minute as well. So yeah, this I would expect. Actually, you can't get the freebooter down, so we are just putting on some more pressure with Wasteland, which makes sense, right? You got the turn one Otherwhile. This is basically the dream scenario. When you get turn one Otherwhile into Wastelanding a player that didn't really do anything relevant on their turn.
Yeah. So we're going to see the power of Ether Vial really showcased this game in that it's going to provide a good amount of fixing.
And now a volcano took out the entire battlefield. Okay, now we're back. uh, so what does the Psy really do here? It's kind of this weird matchup, right? Where Caleb's deck has some grindy potential, but even if you get any kind of decent grind going, Brian probably can't keep up with it. Like I imagine a scenario where Caleb gets an ensnaring bridge from a sideboard, and from what I remember, I think the only out that Bryant has in the main deck, does he have like does
I believe he
Deputy
has a
Detention hit it?
Deputy of Detention.
Yeah, that I think that's one of the ways he can get rid of it. But it should buy some time for Caleb, but it's still far away, right? He still needs to hit like a Karn. I think what funny enough, like probably one of the best draws for Caleb would be an LED, so he can basically recharge his hand and also float some mana of the Mox Opals. It actually wouldn't be that bad. I wouldn't hate that.
So I think this is a Kite Sail Freebooter turn to give information for what to do with the Meddling Mage, rather than try to Meddling Mage blind one of the major 4 mana Haymakers. This just gets to strip one of them from the hand. And it will essentially leave Caleb with nothing, other than a handful
Yeah.
of Thopters, which will very quickly be outclassed by Bryant's board.
Yeah, it's somewhat unfortunate that because of the way Kitesail Freebooter works, you don't even get to flash it back to the graveyard. It's literally exiled. And yeah, now Caleb, phew.
One thing of note, though, I think just about everything in Caleb's deck is done at sorcery speed. So this could have been done in draw step instead for potentially a slightly greater effect.
Mm. Yeah, makes sense. Would have probably been better. Um, so what is Caleb looking to draw here, right? He's I guess as long as you keep drawing artifacts, it's not that bad because you can still like jump block, but it's soon gonna snowball out of control here.
Yeah, he's not in danger of dying immediately, but there is very much like if we think about this game in terms of like tempo and resources, Caleb is kind of on the wrong side of everything right now. Um,
Pretty much.
so these Thopters are going to be smaller than like things like Tomic and Champion of the Parish in another turn or two. We'll probably see Caleb start sacrificing his artifacts to Psy to draw cards. What is that? Is that 2 to activate? Yeah, that's 2 to activate. So we might see the Mox Opal, a Thopter, a Chalice of the Void go the way of the Dodo here this turn.
Hmm. So what are some relevant cards that Brian could find here as well? He actually has found a tutor, so I could see the wall going up to 3 next turn. Maybe
So
even like a deputy of detention, just to interfere with what Brian is doing, what Caleb is doing at instant speed.
I don't know if you go that route. I kind of like getting Sanctum Prelate.
See, that's a smart play. I like that. That actually turns off a lot of awesome top decks for Caleb there. Would you set it to 4? Is that like the
Potentially
most
setting
likely
it to
scenario?
4. So 4 stops your various planeswalkers. I guess Urza is a creature that doesn't shut that off. I had that mind conceptually in the 4-drop pile.
Yeah, sometimes we mentioned how it often feels like a planeswalker because of what it does, right? Ursa rarely ever gets in combat.
Yeah. The other thing about if you take the vial up to 3, you don't have to make a play with it immediately. You can because assuming he doesn't draw a land, it's just going to sit there for a turn anyway. So I don't think you need to say recruiter for Thalia immediately.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Brian is going aggressive. He bounces the side, and there's probably going to be a huge swinger now.
I'm I'm somewhat surprised to see no card draw here. Like Caleb's really far behind on board. I don't know how much that Chalice, for example, is going to be doing.
Yeah, Charles is not really doing much, right? It's stopping Mother of Runes from coming down here.
Yeah,
So we get
like
an Imperial Recruiter to grow your Champion of the Parish by 1 more, and like that clock is real, man. I'm I feel like half of this league is just about me trying to eventually pick up humans. Maybe I'm gonna play that in 2 weeks. Who knows? But yeah,
uh,
Brian looking to be a huge favorite there.
yeah. So there's the Sanctum Prelate. And I think putting that on 4 and eliminating some sort of like ensnaring bridge esque out by like setting it to 4, stopping like say a sequence of Karn plus LED from just keeping you from attacking, seems very safe.
So we found the namesake card. We found Ursa, and Ursa is gonna put how big is it gonna be? 1, 2, 3, like a 4/4 into play, something like that. That's probably big enough to block most of the cards. Like the Champion of the Parish is gonna be bigger.
Yep, that'll do it. And apologies for some of the Moto background stuff. Don't worry about the placement of the names. Bryant Cook did just take down that match.
Yeah, I think there was one name switched up because there was, but I think Anorak is somewhat fixing that right now. But I guess we will also guide you through that by explaining what's happening. So what's happening on each side? So we got nobody really sideboarding yet. Looks like Tomic is coming out for Bryant, which makes sense, right? It's not really doing anything in that matchup.
Yeah, Tomic's really for things like Delver and Ren and 6 decks where you want to trade that body away, or for Dark Depths where it serves as a hard hate piece. He's going to want to bring in things like Deputy of Detention, Imperial Recruiter, Manic Vandal, Sanctum Prelate that have the possibility of either answering Caleb's problematic permanence or just locking him out of the game on its own.
Okay. We're just getting some message. We're about to transition to a short back screen as Anorak fixes one of the visual bugs just came up. So I think we're still going to watch the players finish their sideboarding here. Is there anything else from Caleb's side? Like you see Engineering Explosive. It's kind of funny. Caleb said he was expecting a lot of combo. He gave me some info before the match. And he actually removed 3 cards from his sideboard that he said would have been great in the matchup. I think he had 1 more Engineered Explosives. He had a Worm Coil Engine and I think something else that I forgot about. So like he came prepared for the aggro slash mid range slash control matchup, but he felt no combo is gonna be a big thing in this group. And as it turns out, not so much, except for
Yeah.
Thalia as a big storm, I guess.
Yeah. So I've played with a lot of Karn decks recently. One of the problems of playing it is even though it's objectively very powerful in the main deck, it really limits your sideboard options.
Oh, okay. So yeah, players are about to finish sideboarding here, and as we just mentioned, Anorak is working something out because we had something up where the names of the players were switched. Titles over. Okay, cool. Hey guys, so we're back for match 2. We have Brian Cook up by 1 game, and so we should actually have Caleb on the play here.
We
I hope
have
this is gonna work out.
a very fun hand. What do you think of Bryant Cook's hand up there?
Brian's hand I like. Like I literally like anything that has acceleration. I'm surprised. I guess the Orsa Pontiff fights the top tokens, and he also got the Valdakan guy, and oh, they are switched again. But only the battlefields. I think Anorak, you only need to switch the battlefields, like top and the bottom battlefield. So yeah, we got a turn 1 Psy and an Lions of Diamond. So Caleb is setting up for a ton of great top decks that he can find here. Really, really excited to see how that's going to be. It also blanks all of the freebooters, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, so I was poking a little bit of fun at one of the combos in the hand here. The land that he had was an ancient ziggurat, which is a 5-color land for creature spells, but it actually cannot cast Ether Vial. So that's something that often catches people with their pants down when they're first learning to play humans. Is they keep a hand going like, all right, I have one land Ether Vial. Oh no.
Nothing happens. Pass.
But one interesting thing we did see was something that you mentioned before the match. He opted to play a noble hierarch over an Ether Vial on one. He did draw another land, so he could have gone and just played out Vial on one and chose not to get that acceleration out for future turns.
Yeah, I think that's something that does come up with human at times. Like the reasoning behind that would usually be that if you play your turn one noble hero, you expect your hand to empty before the acceleration from wild. It usually kicks in later, would actually become relevant. So you feel like you want to put on like a really strong punch on the second and the third turn, as opposed to wild, which would give you a better punch on the third and the fourth turn. So with a hand that's this quickish, that doesn't really have a lot of things otherwise going on, I kind of like that. You get to play your Thalia and your second noble hierarch on this turn now.
That's
But
what I would have done, but that's not the line that Bryant is going for. Um, Caleb is relatively all in on this Psy right now, so he's choosing to just take it off the battlefield.
I mean, it's part of the aggressive approach here, right? He knows that Caleb needs to top deck something different, and he really wants to take out any potential jump blockers or anything going on. So full force onto Caleb. Brian is pretty much saying, okay, you don't have anything this far, and you won't have anything in time until I take you down. It makes his Pontiff somewhat weaker, but actually does he? Yeah, he has the mana to cast it if he wanted to. But I can certainly see the upsides of that line. That
So the EE is a bit of a we got our hands flipped now. That's great. A
awesome.
bit of an interesting draw, sort of like thinking how the last couple of turns have gone. So if he had just played out double noble hierarch on the previous turn, we might have seen an EE cast for 0, pay the tax for Thalia so that it's 1, go down, get a 2-for-1 off the noble hierarchs. But now instead it's going to be treated as sort of a real removal spell that also returns the Psi.
Yeah. Sure.
So now we're, I guess, getting Vile into Thalia, which is totally fine. We'll see EE trade for getting Psi back at some point, though perhaps not immediately.
Yeah. I kind of like having the wild online as soon as you have like more mid-rangey stuff like tutors, right? I always feel like one big downside of tutors, especially if they cost 3 mana, is yes, they get you what you want, but you have to wait a turn, which is like why you don't really get to see a lot of tutors just for value, like or even stuff like Living Wish. But with in a deck like this, where you also have some more synergies, I want to say, and the potential to also wild that guy in, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I have a soft
it's
spot for
very
anything mid
common
range.
for you to actually be able to recruiter for something and play it in the same turn with this deck because of either Vile or Noble Hierarch. That's not what we're going to see here, but if this recruiter had been drawn another turn or two down the line, that absolutely would have been the case.
So Caleb finds a Karn, and Karn can actually grab something from the sideboard. Can he cast, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So he can cast a 3 mana spell. No, oh no, wait, there's Thalia.
Yeah, Thalia
So he can't
complicates
literally can't do
Karn
anything.
into immediate ensnaring bridge off of LED.
I wonder whether, oh wait, there's Thalia is like one of the most spoken sentences on coverage ever.
So
But
I like
yeah,
this play of playing out the Hierarch rather than attacking with both the Deputy and the Thalia. It's just going to push more damage sort of in a guaranteed way. We're not going to see like a Sanctum Prelate just jammed this turn. That just doesn't really make a lot of sense with the EE on board. We'll just see a recruiter for
I would
something.
probably guess. Can you get Maniac Gwendol? I think you should.
Yeah, Manic Vandal is a possibility. Deputy of Detention is a possibility. There's a lot of ways to
Yeah.
take this.
I guess most 3 mana things. The energy explosives is on 3, right? As far as I can see.
Yeah, EE is
Uh,
on 3. You
so
probably
that's
end up getting a 3-drop here, even though that EE is on 3, because you're already presenting a decent amount of pressure.
yeah. I could see. So you're basically expecting Caleb to having to blow the EE. Yeah, and he
Yeah.
actually goes for exactly that. And the thigh comes back. Hey, welcome back. Let's see what you can do here. I guess it's finally time to get down our car, and I'm still not sure what it's really gonna do. It's gonna. I mean, Caleb knows about the Maniac Vandal, so even getting something like in Bridge wouldn't be great here. So maybe I'm seeing a world where you go Ballista and then basically try to kill the entire board. I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, Ballista for x=2 is pretty strong.
Oh, he gets the bridge. That's
Uh,
interesting.
was there not a walking ballista still in the board? Was that just boarded indirectly?
Might have been, yeah. So he gets the bridge down, which basically forces Bryant. Like Bryant really. I was gonna say he doesn't have to go for the Maniac Vandal right away, but he doesn't really get to do anything else that's really good with the mana. Like sometimes you can basically set up for the fatal blow for like the big alpha strike, and then remove the bridge. But here, I mean, you could wait, right? But waiting while a Karn is in play is not really great. Like next turn, Karn is certainly gonna grab if there's a ballista. Certainly gonna grab ballista. But
There's also the slightly later on, but the fear of Mycos and Lattice just sort of like stealing this game. We're not quite there yet due to the Thalia attacks. He lost a Lotus Petal and an LED last turn to produce the Karn and get the Ensnaring Bridge in play. But there's very much a fear for the future.
I guess he could do it if he drew a soul land, right? Then you still have to
Yes.
deal with the Thalia on board though. So you basically have to jump block Thalia every turn. I guess you could do that if you draw enough artifacts. Actually, no, you don't, because you have to get the bridge. Oh yeah, that's actually smart. But that would of course been assuming that for some reason Bryant doesn't take down bridge. Actually, taking down bridge is super important here because of what you said. If you don't take down the bridge here, you might never take down the bridge. That's actually pretty poetic. You fight her now. You fight it now, or you never fight it.
Yep. Half to protect that Karn. That's also shutting off the vial, which it's unclear how much that is doing, but certainly it's a decent amount one way or another. Urza
Urza probably not.
represents a solid draw. It's something that can gum up the board and buy more time for Karn to have a real impact on the game.
Yeah, it's gonna. I think the token is gonna be a 4/4, which unfortunately can't block Thalia yet, unless I guess you could grab another artifact from the sideboard and play it to make it a 5/5. 1, 2, 3,
It would have to
4.
be something like Tormod's Crypt-esque in terms of quality, though.
Yeah,
Uh,
not exactly the card you're looking
so,
for.
yeah.
But Caleb is fighting. Okay, he's actually getting something from the graveyard. I mean, if you play a Tormod's Crypt, you also get a token from the side, right? I mean, oh yeah, LED. Connexai makes a good point. LED is probably when I get. Okay, we get Tormod's Crypt.
So what's interesting here is that playing the Tormod's Crypt in the short term is just a +1/+1 for that artifact. But in the long term, you Tormod's Crypt yourself to put your Ensnaring Bridge back into exile so that you can Karn and wish for it.
Oh, that's really smart. I like that. That's
That
really, really
that's
cool.
one of those things that like you lose to that and then you learn about that line. It's very devastating.
So now, actually, I'm not sure if Bryant is actually winning this. Like 2 turns ago, I felt like, okay, Bryant got this, but now he's got the mana to make it work, but not really much else. Like this, what if you get your Ars of Pontiff down? You get rid of the token. Actually, getting rid of the token shrinks the Urza token by 2, right?
Yeah, because
At
you
least
get
for a
rid of
turn.
the Thopter, which removes 1, and then the construct itself gets -1/-1.
Somebody said Cardboard.Live is not working. Let me check. Can you watch the match while I'm checking Cardboard.Live? I get Bryant. I get
Someone
Caleb.
else says that it is working.
Ah.
So
Okay.
I think
Sorry.
I think we're okay.
Yeah, it should be working. It's amazing. People actually get to see what people are playing, so that's cool. So yeah, what are you looking to draw here if you're Bryant? I mean, Deputy of Detention, of course, is one way to do it, but you're facing Mickles and Lettuce soonish. I mean, soonish enough, but yeah, okay.
We also may just end up seeing a Sanctum Prelate on 6 at some point this game. I don't think we're quite there yet, but it's something that Bryant might have on his radar. Just like make sure I don't lose to that while my opponent has the possibility of creating chump blockers every turn.
Isn't it a really interesting match? I'm really glad that we got these two.
Yeah, I really like humans as an archetype, except when I'm getting Wasteland locked. But other than that, your matches are super interesting and intricate and have a lot of play to them.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Urza activation, which is basically, I think, what's the card called from Urza Saga that everybody played back then? Temporal Aperture or something. But basically, you shuffle your deck and you get to play any card for free. Which I guess is on flavor, right? It's from Urza Saga, and here we got Urza, the Master Artificer himself. The artwork on that card is so cool. It's really, really cool. I like it so much. So Thalia gets in, puts some pressure on Karn. So the construct should be something like a 3/3, I would guess.
Yes. But we're probably just going to see an Urza chump block here since Caleb drew a second one. That's just relatively free.
Urza got banned. But guess what? He's back. Man, this Caleb deck. I want to see more of it. Like, just for the sake of seeing more of this deck right now, I want Caleb to win this game. Like, the third game is anyone's game. Got no favorites there, but I want to see more of this deck. Man, we have so many sweet decks. Humanity versus Urza. That's a deck. Humans versus Urza. That sounds like a superhero movie. You got this one all-powerful guy, and all of humanity is trying to take down Urza, who I guess at some point used to be a human.
Yeah, so I feel like last week on the Legacy Premier League, it was just like combo night at the Legacy Premier League. And then this week it was, hey, how about some long, grindy matches with some ridiculous cards ranging from Miss Hollow Griffin to Psy Master Thopterist.
Yeah, last week we basically we had like zombies and storm. There was like a zombie storm going on, and somewhere in there was like an insect flying along. And yeah, that was last week's theme. Like, feels like a very bad horror movie.
All right. So, in case anyone's not familiar with Orzhov Pontiff, when it dies, it gets to haunt a card. When the haunted card dies, you get the Orzhov Pontiff effect again. So, if that Manic Vandal were to die, we can Orzhov Pontiff again, potentially wipe away some Thopter tokens or something of that ilk.
I think we've gotten to a point where Caleb might actually be able to activate Urza if nothing bad happens. There's what if you get your second Pontiff here? Yeah, Echo of Aeons from the top would be insane.
Bryant might actually be totally okay with getting a new hand at this point, though. He's a little stuck in terms of like ability to deploy cards, and one card a turn right now isn't necessarily doing enough. So, for example, here rather than play out a prelate, he's trying to create something that can attack in the air and actually kill the Karn if Caleb misses on an artifact draw, so he can't make a Thopter for turn.
Oh, and he finds the LED.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I think this gonna be no. He can't minus yet, right? Because he loses the Karn. I guess he could, but then you can't because of the letters.
Yeah, we're
Unless you've got something absolutely devastating that would be worth losing the Karn over, but I can't really think of that.
it's definitely danger time in terms of this like Urza starting to take over the game as well.
Oh, okay. So Caleb put something into his exile. I think Anorak, if you it's actually Echo of Eons.
It's
He
Echo.
actually did hit Echo of Eons. Oh my god. I think if you click the exile, we should be able to see the card. But let's see. Yeah, so we can see it over there.
Oh boy,
He
here we
literally
go.
hit fucking Echo of Eons. Oh my god, this is amazing. Oh wow, oh wow. And now oh god, we get 2
Oh,
free
there's the
artifacts. Actually,
ensnaring bridge that he just shuffled back into his deck.
what a master. He
Oh
saw the line.
boy.
I mean, so did
Oh
you.
boy.
We're going echoing now. And it looks like the cards that Bryant ended up drawing, like none of them really matter here. Ah. This is prime Caleb, right? This is the kind of entertainment that inviting Caleb Durward to your league brings you. I'm so happy. This deck, man, I want to buy it. I want to play it.
So, how is Bryant going to get out of this now? I think that becomes the next question. The board is relatively clogged. The constructs are getting big enough that it's possible that he no longer is going to be the aggressor, but Bryant is going to be put on the defensive and be forced to chump block.
Oh yeah, it's actually the other way around. No, right? No, eventually Caleb is gonna put the pressure on him, and like he's gonna put a lot of pressure on him very soon.
I think Caleb's a little hungry, and he's just taking a big old bite out of the advantage bar now. Um, I think one of the ways he would lose from here is potentially by attacking in, allowing Manic Vandal to block, wiping the Thopters, allowing. Oh my gosh, we're going again. There's a Deputy of
Did we
Detention
just?
now. He Echo of Eons again. Yes.
Oh my god. What's the storm count? Can we get a storm count? Should be something like, hey, who's the storm deck now? Like, looks like Caleb is the storm deck. He's doing everything. Like it's kind of funny how he's doing all of this through Thalia even.
So
but now
sadly,
the
we
second hand
don't
of
get a
Bryant.
storm count, but there's fun things on both sides of the table.
So now we actually get a relevant card in Bryant's second hand with the Deputy of Detention. So so little does Bryant know that next turn the Urza is gonna add the second Karn is definitely gonna come down, even if he takes it out, and just grab Mikkos and Lettuce and probably end the game from here. So he might think that he needs to take down a bridge and then put pressure on Karn. But yeah, it's just watching this game is hypnotizing. I just love seeing what's going on Caleb's end. He's still not done.
So one thing to keep in mind that Caleb does have 6 cards in hand now due to the second Echo of Eons. So the Ensnaring Bridge currently is not actually preventing attacks. So we can see Deputy of Detentions, for example, go and get rid of all those Thopters or get rid of the constructs and make an attack in. That opens up the Ether Vial to do things. We'll see whether that ends up actually being enough, though.
Something you want to happen on Brian's end is seeing your Maniac Vandal die so you can get rid of those tokens, but I don't really see a proper way to make that work. It's not like you could go, okay, sacrifice Maniac Vandal to what? To itself, just because. Next turn, Caleb is gonna have so much mana. It's disgusting. That's the best part of it. Oh wow. Yeah, we're really not sure where Brian needs to go from here. Like the problem with Sanctum Prelate is you run it out. Yes, I guess you could name 6, and that would stop the immediate death. But is that that's not really a winning line? But
you can like Prelate and Thalia's Lieutenant. Another issue is that you have a limited number of actual answers to the permanents on the other side of the battlefield. So if you do something anemic like use a Deputy of Detention to get rid of the Thopters, then you have fewer outs to the Ensnaring Bridge, the Karn, the other things that are still going to be sitting on the other side of the table.
you know, if it comes to a third game, time might actually be a factor here. I see Bryant down to something like 8 or 9 minutes, and Caleb also is only sitting on 10 minutes. But so maybe we're gonna have them open. Anorak, you're gonna decide that maybe we're gonna have them a new match for the third game should it come up.
Another thing that I've realized is the combination of Urza and Psy is actually pretty cute. So you can use Urza to tap artifacts for mana, and then use that mana to sacrifice things to Psy. So that actually means that if he did go and, say, point the deputy at the Thopters, you tap 2 artifacts, sacrifice the initial one that's targeted, and then fizzle the rest of the ability.
Yeah, you can certainly do that, right? So you could, even if you have the mana out, make that work for you and not lose out of them. So yeah, pre on 6 like we expected. That's certainly gonna stop the instant KO. But I'm still having trouble trying to piece together a way for Bryant to actually.
Yeah, life's tough. Another thing that Prelude on 6 does is it also shuts off Echo of Eons. 2
Nobody
draw
ever plays the
7s.
6, right?
Oh, okay, you got those. Not a third.
If we see if you know what, I'm surprised that Caleb actually kept those Narsets. I guess he could, maybe he shaved some. I didn't exactly see it while sideboarding. It's only really good with Echo of Eons in this deck, but I guess that's good enough to justify it when you don't really have a lot to bring in.
Yeah, he needs to leave some of his stuff in the sideboard. So presumably earlier this game, we already saw him being punished a little bit for not having a ballista in the sideboard that he could have gone and gotten. So I think he's already boarded in as many cards as he reasonably can board in. And that just means that the Narsets have to stay in.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. I think Caleb is trying to go for our special trophy of the person with the most cards on the battlefield in the entire season. You know, since I've seen so many things going on.
It's looking pretty good. We did get a lot of zombies on stream last week. I didn't keep a count, but
I blame Hogak. That card finishes games quickly.
Yeah, that card's pretty silly.
17 tokens, sweet.
Those are some big boy. Oh, geez, what does EE even do on this board?
It's gonna take out a lot of things.
He notably can't cast it on X. Well, no, he could cast it on X equals 3. He just has to pay a little bit more mana so that it doesn't run into the Sanctum Umbrella.
Yeah, would you? I guess you could do it for 3, and then how much mana does he have? Like, he would need a ton of mana, but the good thing is he literally has a ton of mana. So he could do it for 3, blow it up.
No, he's not even bothering. He's just fishing for new cards with Urza. Could be anything.
Just the Caleb I know. Like I say, it's literally casting or drawing a random, tutoring for a random card.
So I wonder if just like EE for 2 is good enough. Just use that to just take out 2 creatures that are on the board without costing you anything. Popping an EE on 3 actually ends up getting rid of like Psy and your bridge. So that's probably not all that good.
So that's a 2. Yeah, but when he immediately drew it, like my first thought was that he was gonna do it in 2, just to make the board even more awkward for Bryant. Whereas Bryant, I don't really like. I'm trying to come up with ways that he could still win this game. Like, you could get this Meddling Mage, and you probably don't want to play it straight into an Engineered Explosives. It's such an awkward spot. You can fall. Even that's not great. Maybe it's time for the humans to retreat and try to find another day.
Yeah. There's worlds where you can try to keep fighting, but Caleb has so many resources, and the clock is ticking from so many different directions, ranging from just like being lethal in the air via Thopters to dying to giant constructs. Like there's a lot of things that are just going to go and take this down.
So I would expect that we're going to make another match here so that the players won't time out, because we had some technical issues setting up in the beginning. So we're going to transition to our Be Right Back screen, listen to some sweet music. It's called Phyrexian Night, and check out some sweet pixel art. And then we're going to be back like in a couple minutes for the third game, the final match, humans versus Okay. Hey, we are getting a huge raid from Bryant G, which I can only assume is our co-player in the Bryant Gottlieb. Hey, my name is Julian, I'm with Gallagher, and we are currently waiting on the third match of Bryant Cook on Legacy Humans versus Caleb Durward on Phil, what do you want to call that deck? I think I called it Accelerated Urza Aeons Blue or something like that.
I might just call it Urza Echo. Just get the big names in there. Short, sweet, to the point.
We just watched an amazing game 2 that went that far down that we actually had to quickly remake the game because players were actually about to time out, and we definitely want to see that game 3 because this game is gonna be amazing. There's so much back and forth. Like, I think in the second game we saw Bryant at a very early advantage, putting on a lot of pressure on Caleb, but Caleb somehow managed to really just like top deck his way out of this. I think we saw Caleb play his entire hand on the first turn, and then I think he got what's it called, Urza down, and followed by he got a Karn down followed by an Urza, and that's over the course of something like 7 or 8 turns really got him back into the game, producing something like 20 to 30 permanents. And I'm getting the message right now that we are ready to transition into the third game. So Andrea, take us there.
Yeah, so I definitely thought that Bryant had taken over the game, that the game was over once Caleb had sort of emptied his hand. But a couple of powerful top decks in a row spun that game on a dime. If you're able to get an unchecked Karn for a couple of turns and like get a card or two out of your sideboard, it can be really devastating for a deck like Humans. Ensnaring Bridge can slow us down a lot. Still not seeing a Ballista in the sideboard, right? Those are both in the main deck here.
Yeah, that's probably something like you would do that if you think that you're up against a very aggressive deck where going 4-drop into probably past the turn untap play Ballista is too slow. So you'd rather naturally draw the Ballista, which makes sense, right? We're up against decks in Legacy right now. And from what at least I've been told by many, many people whom I trust, also one of the best, or didn't you call it the best tribal deck in Legacy right now?
Well, Eric called it that, but I feel like I would probably agree with that.
Man, those I wish I could like wholeheartedly disagree with you, but Elves is having a really rough time right now, and Humans seems to be, especially with what's it called, Tomic, like a really, really good deck. So maybe I'm gonna pick that up sometime.
Tomic is a sweet card. I could sing the praises of that card. It's absolutely disgusting when everyone wants to be playing around with Wrenn and 6 and Dark Depths. Some Twitch chat arguments over the best tribe. Shout outs to Slivers and Daniel Nunes, Soul Slivers player.
You know, when I won Hamburg last year, Slivers was one of the very few decks I dropped even a game against. Like, I was on the verge of defeat against Slivers, so definitely respect to that deck. But yeah, game 3 coming up, and what do you think about Caleb's hand here? He doesn't have any kind of acceleration, but he has that crucial turn to Thalia, and he's got Maniac Gwendol, but the problem I see here is like, there's really no. I take it back. There's a 1-drop, by the way.
I'm 100% keeping Bryant Cook's hand every time. That is an amazing curve of aggressive card into hate card into hate card into answer to big dumb stupid artifact. This is pretty ideal, even though it doesn't have a vial or a hierarch.
On the other side of the board, we could see a potential turn 1 Karn if Caleb was willing to play the turn 0 Chalice. Not sure if you want to go there. I'm actually somewhat surprised that Chalice is still in the deck. But like you mentioned, there wasn't really much that Caleb could bring in the first place, right? So maybe it's just something you have to keep there.
Yeah. I don't know that you want to put a Chalice on 0 in your deck with like LED Lotus Petal, Mox Opal. I think that's too costly. I do think you are supposed to play out the Lotus Petal to play around Thalia, though. That's
actually a really good point.
You see decks like you see good Amp players doing that sort of thing all of the time for exactly this reason against these white decks.
I think one reason not to do it is because you want to get more value out of your Psy, which I can also. So that's pretty much a judgment call, right? You do it either way, and now you have to pay for the Lotus Petal, but you still get out your thigh, so it's gonna be like everything is gonna be a little late.
Also,
So
Bryant having
yeah.
access to Caracas this game is like hilarious because like Sai and Urza are legendary. So there's very real value to be gained here.
Oh, Prelate Zero is a really good point. I see Kanexai mentioned that in the chat. Like Prelate Zero is basically like a one-sided chalice on Zero. And oh wow,
Yeah.
I'm really gonna look forward to that. I
So
wonder if
the
yeah, it must
first
be a Zero,
prelate
right?
is disgusting, and the second one is probably going to be game ending.
Prelate on 4, that's also a very reasonable play here. You would probably expect Caleb to have a relevant 4 drop. Is there a way we can get this one cast now? We can't get into the graveyard yet. The Echo of Eons, we actually saw it steal a game last game. Actually, I mean, I can't. Like there was like 3 or 4 consecutive really important top decks for Caleb that ended up stealing the game, and Echo of Eons was part of that. We actually had a turn where he cast like Echo of Eons twice and produced infinite tokens almost, I want to say. But yeah, here he's just setting up for like one turns. He's getting some tokens, which is kind of nice in the of Caracas. But there's not really much happening next turn. How much mana is Echo of Eons to hardcast? It's like 6, right? So 2,
6,
4,
7 after
6.
Thalia.
So he needs one. Yeah, so he needs one more mana. But that's a lot of pressure coming the way of the player that has Ancient Tomb in play and probably heavily relies on it to make something.
Yeah, so this is pretty good. So now you probably set the second one on 6 to prevent Echo of
Yeah.
Eons from getting rid of your prelate, or sorry,
Oh
your
man.
pontiff. And then next turn, assuming you draw a land, you can like bounce Sai, wipe the board, crash in for an absolute ton.
Oh, it's just powerful. This is the kind of game that gets its own Wikipedia entry later on. Like the Battle of the Legacy Premier League Group B match 2. That's something to look forward to.
Oh,
Now he finds
Ballista.
Ballista.
Ballista is
Ballista,
a sweet draw.
it's going to be very mana intensive, but one of the few cards that are high impact that don't get taxed by Thalia. Thalia is a soft spot for Ballistas, even though it's like a construct. It's not really. Is it really a creature? Is that like racist towards Ballistas, calling it not a creature? I mean, it's a creature after all.
That's why it's an artifact creature. It can be both. So here's the thing about this ballista though. Like, how do you go about using it on this board? Are you gonna play it for 2, pass the turn, take a bunch of hits on it? Are you gonna try to like use it more immediately? Are you gonna try to save this for a turn, pump some more mana into it?
That's probably the ideal scenario, right? That you get
Or
to save it.
sorry,
I'm just not
the
sure.
Mox Opal is active. It can be X equals 3.
Yeah, so you can get it down. But like that champion of the parish hitting for 4, that's another thing. You might even be forced to just run out the Chromox to get the extra, so you one more jump blocker. And I think that's well, you might as well imprint this, right? You're never gonna cast that.
Yeah, I
Makes
think
sense.
that's a heads up play.
That way, you also don't have to spend your Lotus Petal if you really want to get it down. Oh, or maybe he's just killing Thalia here and then running out. No, you can't do that. There's a Sanctum Prelate on 4, so you can't really. Hmm.
Okay, so the mana is up here to potentially sacrifice something with Sai instead.
So what would be like the most devastating play that Brian can do here to push for damage? Because I think you want to put as much pressure as possible on Caleb here, because playing
So
humans, you don't want your opponent to untap with Walking Ballista there.
so you Orzhov Pontiff, give the board -1, -1. That presumably causes Ballista to fire off, killing the Thalia. Then sacrifice a Thopter to draw some cards. And then I think you can turn everything else sideways. I don't remember how much power that Urza has. Is it 2? 2 power,
Yeah,
so
it
it'll
should
be
be a 2
reduced to 1.
2/4 or something. Or the Sai, you mean? It should be like a 1/4.
Okay, 1/4.
So yeah, the other option is to just pump Ballista and then have it like hang around as a 1/1 for this. but you're gonna take a ton of damage then. Like you're gonna take so much damage, it might just not work. You're gonna take like, oh my god, this is like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 6, 15. I think if you pump Ballista, okay, Caleb is going for it. I was figuring it might be too much.
So
But maybe
what you
there's a
can
word.
do if you take this route is to block champion, or sorry, block, use ballista to block champion, then shoot Thalia mid combat and let
Yeah.
your walking ballista die to state base effects.
So you're basically saying you're basically giving up on the. I can see that. I think that's just no scenario where you make Ballista. Yeah. Also interesting play. You can only use Walking Ballista once because it should be like -1/-1 that has 2 +1 plus. Oh, he doesn't use it at all. Okay. He throws away the Sai. He's saying, okay, I'm going all in. I'm down to 4 life. Jesus, I guess you can get it to 3 now, and then you can shoot down Thalia and the Ars of Pontiff and jump block something. Then you take exactly 4. That's not it.
So
I guess it's gonna be we're gonna spin the wheel. It's gonna be Urza, I would guess.
so if you're Urzaing, why did you need to shoot the prelate first?
But yeah,
Oh, that's just the concession. Humans take
man,
down the match.
that was an amazing draw. I was somewhat skeptical because I didn't initially see the champion, but you were that hand, that curve, and that disruption. That was outstanding. This was one of those hands where you don't need Etherwild to be super amazing.
All right. Well, why don't we take a look at where we're going for the rest of the night and what our bracket looks like currently?
Yeah, we got 3 more matches coming up. We have Michael Bonde on 4-color Loam and Bryant Cook on Humans in the upcoming match in the winners final. The winner of that goes straight to the winner bracket of our tournament. Like the playoff stage is gonna start in late October, and the losers aren't out. So if you finish in 3rd or 4th place in the group, you still get to compete, but you have to make your way through the losers bracket. And as we've seen last year, I think we saw Jarvis actually start out in the loser bracket and make his way all the way from the very first round of the loser bracket until the grand finals, where he was taken down by Brian Cook's zombie hordes. So that's I hope those two get to meet again because that would make for an amazing match. But honestly, like with the people that we have in this league, every group that comes up, like the first thing I say, oh my god, this is it. This is like prime legacy. And then you go to the next group and the next group, and like it's getting crazier every week. So really looking forward to the remaining matches. And with that, we're gonna cut to a short. Be right back. We're gonna set up for the next game, which is gonna be Bryant against Michael Bonde. Phil, thank you so much for coming on and doing commentary. And I think we're gonna step out of the booth and we're gonna have Edgar and Jonathan Zuckernick, Edgar Magalhaes and Jonathan Zuckernick step into the booth to do some commentary for you guys.